Hey folks, Quill18 here, and I can't believe how quickly it happened. We have a release details and a release date for RimWorld BIOTECH, the next expansion for RimWorld, as well as the 1.4 patch, which apparently 1.4 is available in the unstable branch as well, which is going to be great because it means that mod authors will hopefully have lots of time and opportunity to update some key mods before 1.4 officially drops. Very excited about this. Let's read this. I haven't read it yet. It actually just came out as I was streaming. I'm still technically streaming over here. RimWorld's third expansion, RimWorld BIOTECH, is coming out in a few weeks. We're also making the free vanilla 1.4 update available now for play on the unstable Steam branch. More details about that near the bottom of this post. This post will describe BIOTECH's features, present Tynan's thoughts on why he decided to make BIOTECH as it is, and go over the new features in the free 1.4 update. The RimWorld BIOTECH page is currently up and available. It can be wishlisted. Click. So you can do that and you get some more details over there, but we're going to look at this main post first. First of all, and this I actually, even though I saw the baby in the teaser image for BIOTECH, what we now know as BIOTECH, there was a baby there, part of me did kind of believe, as other people suggested, that it was more of a, like a symbiotic, like second head kind of thing, rather than a true baby, because I didn't really believe that RimWorld was going to add babies to the game, babies and children, because RimWorld is an unfriendly place. And yet, yep, it is going to be in there. So, about BIOTECH. BIOTECH features on three major features. Controlled mechanoids, including new mechanoid types, making your colonists into a mechanator, raise babies and children, reproduce and create families by both natural and artificial means, and genetically modified children and adults, and interact with new gene-modded factions. As a reminder, in the RimWorld lore, and there is lore for RimWorld, there's actually a huge write-up that's available from the main menu of RimWorld, there are no aliens in this universe, but there are lots of huge diversity of what were at one point humans, including the ability to do genetic modification. Well, that's now being brought into the core game. There are mods that did some of these things, but not before in the game itself. So yes, we can now raise a family and tell a story for generations to come. Oops, that did not bring up the picture as I expected from clicking on that. All right, fine. With BIOTECH, colonists and outsiders can become pregnant and give birth. Pregnancy can begin naturally or via technological means and can be controlled by a variety of methods. Babies bring joy, but also challenges. Colonists' hearts will melt when the baby coos and giggles in their arms, but it takes effort to keep a baby happy and healthy and loved. Create a safe haven for them in a cozy pastel nursery where there's always warm milk, a comfortable crib, overflowing toy chests, and kind caregivers. Yes, that sounds like exactly what's going to happen in RimWorld. They grow up fast, especially if you use a growth vat. Now, see, this is what I wondered about, because you can have a colony that spans multiple years in RimWorld, but to span like 20 years, that's a long time in RimWorld. Like, that's an unbelievably long Let's Play at that point. And so accelerated growth makes a lot of sense. So soon your child will be walking, talking, getting into trouble. They'll soak up knowledge in the classroom and tag along with adults to watch them work. Kids find many ways to entertain themselves with art, exploring nature, playing with technology, and more. Teach them lessons and they'll learn how to survive, cook, make friends, create art, build, craft, hunt, and fight. I wonder if you can influence their passions. That's interesting. Watch as they grow up and make mistakes, lose loved ones, and survive hardships. A rich childhood makes a capable adult. Every few years, you choose which traits and passions, there we go, a child will develop. The better raised a child is, with smarter education and more attention, the more choices you'll have, and the better their chances are to become a happy and talented adult. Some colonies will sacrifice everything to give a child the best upbringing. I thought I was going to say some colonies sacrifice all their children. While others will use growth vats to pump out cheap workers and soldiers. Choices up to you. I can see us do both. Maybe in kind of an implied or implicit caste system as well, right? We need some cheap laborers ASAP, and we also want some people who are super trained in medics and social and research and things. The Mechanator. Build and control mechanoids by making your colonists into a mechanator, a person with a special brain implant that lets them psychically command semi-living machines. Create mechanoids by growing them inside high-tech gestator tanks. Command the original centipede, lancer, and scyther, plus a wide variety of new combat and labor mechanoids. Grow your swarm from a few small workers and fighters to a fearsome squadron of massive ultra-tech war machines and industrial behemoths. Again, I want to click on these images, but apparently it's linking in a weird way, so oh well. Mechanoid laborers can manufacture goods, rescue and tend your colonists, build and repair structures, sow and harvest crops, haul stuff, and more. Okay, so one of my favorite mods is the Misc robot ones that add like the little Roomba-shaped little robots to clean, or the crafter bots and things. I won't need that anymore. It's going to be built in. They never get sick, they don't freeze in the snow or get poisoned in toxic fallout, they don't suffer mental breaks from long hours in dark mine shafts or filthy garbage yards. Combat mechanoids are very diverse in form and function. Some are cheap swarmers that overwhelm the enemy with numbers. Others project shields over their allies or roast enemies with beam weapons, or charge up for massive concrete melting hellsphere attacks. Mechanoids with melee claws and blades, sniper weapons, even flamethrowers. Depending on which mechanoids you command, your tactical options will vary dramatically. Mechanoid infrastructure has a special price. Pollution. Oh shit! We're Factorio now. Left unfrozen, toxic waste packs deteriorate and leak pollutants into the environment. Pollution. Oh, it's even worse than that. Wow. We are reality here. Pollution makes living things sick. It poisons your colonists and pets. It blocks the sunlight with smog and irritates your colonists' lungs. This is a huge mod. This is a way bigger expansion than royalty and ideology put together. Oh my god. It triggers hibernating insects to emerge on the planet's surface. Some areas of the planet are so polluted that only twisted, toxin-adapted variants of plants and animals can survive there. New biome. Oh my god. Let's do naked brutality start in a toxic-infested biome. I love it. Pollution is a challenge that you can handle in a variety of ways. Freezing, export, neighbors might not like this. Adaptation, high-tech atomization. Advance your mechanator's capabilities by acquiring ancient mechanoid technology. This means calling dangerous new super mechanoids to attack in order to defeat them and steal technology from their smoking corpses. There are 3 types of hyper-deadly commander mechs to fight, each with its own weapons and combat style. Be sure you're ready before you call these machine beasts to attack. Learn enough and someday you may command them as your own. What I like about this is you could theoretically just not do any of the mechanoid stuff, and then you don't have pollution. You have a nice, pretty green, wonderful environment. Green because it's natural as opposed to like radioactive. And then finally, gene modding. You can genetically modify people to create xenohumans, humans with exotic traits. Genetic modifications range from subtle personality traits and eye color to hulking furry bodies, glands for fire breathing, rapid regeneration, and even immortality. The world contains a new set of xenohuman types and factions, including unstoppable super soldiers, fur-covered animal-controlling Arctic settlers, toxic-immune human bioweapons, fire-breathing horn desert imp people, psychic bonding concubines, and more. The darkest of them drink blood, live in shadows, and live forever. RimWorld has vampires now? Okay. All right. I love it. Vampire Daycare! Yes, a return to Vampire Daycare. Sorry, I'm responding to Twitch chat here that is active while I'm recording this. You can make your own xenotypes from scratch and build infrastructure in your colony to enhance your people. Curate a collection of exotic genes by purchasing them from traders, accepting them. So, you purchase the genes. Interesting. Accepting them as quest rewards or extracting them from your menagerie of xenohuman prisoners. You can harvest genes from anyone and implant those genes into your colonists and prisoners. You can also recombine genes to make bizarre and advantageous mixes of traits for implantation. I have seen some mods that do some like gene combination stuff and things like that, but they always struck me as they were probably going to be a little bit like, wonky and difficult to implement. But now we got it in base. That's crazy. Experiment with gene extraction and recombination to build your colony of xenohumans. I also love like little screenshots while the clicking on them here apparently is not working quite right for me here. The beautiful little like farm with the children and pastel colors, just lovely. The green irradiated hellscape. And then over here we have like the glowing red Geno build thing like in a mountain. I love it. So why biotech? Hey everyone, Tynan here. I thought it would be worth explaining the thought process behind why we decided to make this expansion. Here's what I've been thinking. Why Mechanators? Mechanoids have been RimWorld's endgame foes since way back in 2014. Fictionally, however, they are human created for human purposes, so it's natural to extend this and allow the player to control the Mechanoid somehow. Since RimWorld is a character-oriented story generator, I didn't want to just add the Mechanoids as independently controlled robots the player can order around like an RTS. That would have been moving away from the character orientation that defines RimWorld. The Mechanoids needed to be human connected. That's why I designed a system where each mechanoid is linked to a specific person, the Mechanator. The mechanoids are an extension of the human who controls them, with all the human complexity that entails. I also didn't want to destroy the economic balance or progression rate of mechanoids. That would have been easy to do. Human beings are inherently quite expensive. They need complex foods, decent living quarters, social relationships, entertainment, even rituals with the ideology expansion. In a naive game design, a colony of mechanoids could skip most of these needs and be absurdly overpowered. Fun for a short time, but ultimately uninteresting. Making the mechanoids human-linked alleviated part of this concern, but they needed another cost since they are inherently so much less needy than people. Just eating resources wouldn't feel novel or interesting enough, so we needed a new kind of cost. I decided to explore the concept of pollution. Pollution doesn't cost anything to make, but incurs challenges that come afterwards. It's a bit like going into debt. Not a problem at first, but if you let it catch up to you, it will soon become a transformative challenge. That's okay, we can just print more money, right? We made sure there are a variety of ways to approach pollution, so players can choose whether to stay clean, suppress the effects, or just let it happen and adapt to the changing landscape. This is linked in nicely with the gene modding system as well, since some genes help with pollution resistance. I bet you there's going to be some cool ideology stuff linked to all this as well. Pollution itself is designed to be interesting. It interacts with the insects, generating them and powering them up. It transforms, again, that makes me think of Factorio. It transforms the landscape visually and economically, replacing normal plants and animals with a new set of pollution-specific plants and creatures. The new Pollux tree is a natural way to alleviate pollution. It's livable, but there are special challenges to living in pollution. Finally, player-controlled mechanoids were going to open up new ways to do combat. In the past, the player's units were limited in how diverse they could be since they were mostly humans. Mechanoids can have much more exotic types of movement, weaponry, and combat tools. They can also be more expendable than humans. All this opened up opportunities for more types of player-side combat strategies, which we've explored in depth with new types of combat mechanoids. It gives the player more tactical choices in combat and more ways to be aggressive instead of risk avoidant. The naturalness of fiction, human connectedness, unique new costs and strategies together made player-controlled mechanoids a really attractive design path. Took a lot of work to build all that, but we had the time and resources to do it right. So this is the thing, it feels like just mechanoids could have been one expansion. Just reproduction in children could be one expansion. Just xenomorphing stuff could be one expansion, although it does tie in very nicely to the reproduction in children system. To me, this feels, especially when you compare it to the sides of royalty and ideology, it feels like 3 expansions in one to me. Why reproduction and children? The core design goal of RimWorld is to generate emotionally compelling human stories. This has always been a challenge when designing a game because games tend to be very impersonal. In games, progress often focuses on economic gains, increases in power, or expansion of map control. These sorts of numbers-oriented systems work great for games because they're predictable and mechanistic, which means players can reason about them strategically and computers can simulate them. The problem is that a good story isn't just a sequence of changes in economic numbers, damage amounts, or map control markings. Good stories are about people, emotions, and relationships. Good stories take things that individual humans value, safety, family, love, and put these things up for grabs and let the characters struggle to gain them or avoid losing them. There must be a relatable person at the center of the story who is experiencing strong and relatable emotions about something they value. Or it could be about a rat named Shin. That also works quite well. Which are some of the strongest and most relatable emotions? Those that come from family relationships. They're powerful because family is important to us. They're relatable because everyone has a family, so everyone can empathize with what it might be like to help a brother or parent, have a child, help them, or fear losing them. This is, of course, obvious, and that's why other narrative media have explored this topic for thousands of years. Family-linked drama is the bread and butter of stories across older media. From the most classic novels of high culture to the bawdiest barroom tales, questions of family obligation, sacrifice, life and death, and relationships are central to our most compelling stories. From, "No, I am your father," to, that's not the quote though, right? Isn't it? No, Luke, I am your father. No, I guess it is no, I am your father. It's the Luke, I am your father is the misquote all the time. That's right. Anyway, 2, I will find you and I will kill you. 2, you are the father. Family relationships are the center of story. This is true in the Western stories that RimWorld is inspired by as well. Extending that into RimWorld makes obvious sense, and it's something I've always been interested in. However, it took a long time to get here because these are such complex topics. Blah, blah, blah. Mouth is getting tired here. Reproduction, birth, baby care, and child raising all have a lot of fine details and rich content that I always knew would take substantial effort to get right. I wanted to make sure we had the development power to make the game generate these kinds of powerful family-oriented emotions without cutting corners or excessive jank. BIOTECH being the longest expansion development cycle with the most developers we've ever had, I decided that it was time to bite off this big challenge. Why gene modding? Genetically modified xenohumans have always been part of the RimWorld universe fiction. They are RimWorld's way to explore how biologically different humanoids might tell new stories or unlock new types of gameplay. With reproduction already being part of this expansion, it was natural to extend that into allowing genetic modification. Like everything else in RimWorld, gene modding is an inherently character-oriented system. It changes who people are and what they can do, which alters their relationships and the emotions those will produce. It also opens up new gameplay paths. Genes can unlock new combat tactics, economic roles, and so on. It gives individuals more distinct visual identities. It even generates new moral choices, as players decide what kind of modifications they are willing to apply to their people, their children, or their prisoners. It added more variation to the human world in the form of different types of factions. Instead of just different human factions with different diplomatic orientations, now those different factions are dominated by different types of xenohumans. This alters how they fight, which makes combat more distinct from each other. Fighting a raid of furred Itakin, or Whitekin warriors is quite different from a raid of baseliner humans, or Neanderthals, or fire-breathing impids, or pigskins. There's a lot of fun, colorful differences between them too. A raid of squealing pig people feel quite different from a raid of bear-calling furred Yatikin. We experimented with a lot of gene effects before settling on a set that is diverse and consistently fun to play without breaking the game. It took a while, but in the end, testers are loving it. I also took a lot of fun writing the name generators for the new human factions, especially the pigskins. Polork! And now, update 1.4. So this isn't the expansion at this point. This is the free update that is presumably playable literally right now, which is probably what I'm going to do immediately after the stream ends. Update 1.4 is available on Steam in the Unstable Branch for public beta testing, and gives modders more time to update before release. The main branch that most people play is unaffected and still in version 1.3 for now. If you'd like to try 1.4, you can play on the Steam branch Unstable, you right-click your library, select betas. Alright, key features below, changelog at the end. I don't think I'll read the changelog out, depends on how big it is, but key features. Startup performance improvements, love it. We spent months optimizing launch and game loading times. In our tests, launching RimWorld and loading save games are roughly 37% faster. That's excellent. Painting and color customization for walls, floors, furniture, and lights. Hey! Give your colony a custom look by painting the walls, floor, and furniture of your settlement any of a huge variety of colors using dye harvested from the Tictoria crop. Install a range of new colored carpets in your colonist living spaces. Set the mood with lamps that you can set to any color to create your romantic rouge bedroom or an eerie fluorescent laboratory. We expect screenshots to get even more wild thanks to this. Styles always available. You can now use all styles of all buildings, items, and floors and visually customize your colony even without ideology active. Oh, cool. Oh, excellent. Actually useful shells that store lots of stuff. Wait, are we getting deep storage implied? People said that you can get the one tile one, but now I'm wondering. Fill your storerooms with shelves, which can now hold up to 3 stacks of most items. Our testers are very excited with this one. So yeah, it's basically the deep storage mod, because those could hold multiple stacks in a single tile. There's also a 1-tile mini shelf. Shelves should help to keep your colony tidy and organized and protect your items. Yeah, it just looks good rather than a bunch of stuff on the floor. Yeah, mini deep storage. Deep storage, I think, has quite a lot of them. The deep storage things, a lot of them will have like 4 and maybe even like 8 stacks per tile in them. So if this is 3 stacks per tile, that's not as strong as deep storage, but still a big difference and will incentivize. Because right now in vanilla RimWorld, the shelves are exactly the same as just putting a stockpile on the ground. The only thing that's different is the shelves do prevent deterioration. So a shelf outside is the same as having a storage pile indoors, and it blocked the negative beauty from some of the things. But there wasn't much point in shelves. Now there is. 2 new turret types. Okay, the foam turret spits fire foam to extinguish nearby blazes. Oh, cool. The rocket swarm turret is a defensive launcher. When triggered, it blankets a wide area in a barrage of small missiles. It's excellent against large groups of weaker enemies, but only works when you press the button for extra drama. All right, manually triggered. I love it. Starting possessions. Depending on backstory, your starting colonists might come with their own possessions. Oh, not only does it make it a bit easier to start with imperfect colonists, it also gives them a personal touch. I like that. Are we getting Dwarf Fortress style miasma? Rot stink. Keep rotten corpses and meat away from your colonists. In addition to being disturbing to look at, decomposing tissue now releases rot stink gas. Colonists that are chronically exposed to rot stink may develop the new lung rot disease. Keep extra empty graves and garbage dumps available for times when you're overwhelmed with bodies. More prisoners to trade, release, and interact with. In addition to all the prisoners you got before, now you get a new class of prisoner who is unwaveringly loyal to their home. They can't be recruited, but they can be sold, sent home for diplomatic benefits, used for gene extraction or blood farming in biotech, or used in rituals and enslaved in ideology. We did it this way because we wanted to make all the uses for prisoners besides recruitment more viable. Adding a new stream of unwaveringly loyal prisoners does that without destroying the population progression balance. It is true, because really the big value in prisoners in vanilla RimWorld is just you recruit them or not. This can be disabled in storyteller settings. Excellent. There was something else I was wondering if we might be able to, like, I wonder if we can play with biotech, but disable, like, having children, for example. I wonder if something like that's there. Or if, like, having children is a very explicit, like, intentional action, so it's never going to happen, like, accidentally or undesirably. Curious about it. A new mod manager UI. Hey, managing your mods is easy, really easy and smooth in UI, because the vanilla RimWorld mod UI is not very useful if you're running a huge number of mods like I am, like over 100. It's very awkward. So instead I use the mod manager mod. But now maybe I don't have to. Mods are now split into active and inactive lists. Yeah, that sounds exactly the same. You can access your mod options directly from the manager screen. That's very handy. You can also save and load mod lists and mass unsubscribe to any outdated or disabled mods. Yep. So very similar to mod manager, very, very well, a good addition to the game. RimWorld's always been pretty good about like looking at mods out there and being like, you know what, this should be part of the core game. You're right. New mod mismatch window. I use a mod for that normally, so that's going to be great. New options menu, divided into tabs. Mods get their own tabs. Heat overlay. This was a mod that would add a heat overlay, so that's not built into the game. Quest search bar. Interesting. I'm not used to having that many like active quests that I'd need a search bar. Interesting. Tile inspector shows you the details of a specific tile when you hover over it and press the alt key. Well, that's very handy. So yeah, I'm not going to go through the full change log here in this video. My voice isn't going to be able to handle it. All right, we'll be posting blog posts over the next few weeks about specific features of BIOTECH. Stay tuned for those. BIOTECH expansion's biggest yet, no kidding. We hired more people and took more time than ever before to create new systems, content, and storytelling possibilities. So much that we considered splitting this into 2 separate products, but decided to keep it all together as one extra juicy expansion. Yeah, they really could have had the bio part in one expansion and the tech part, i.e. the mechanoid things, in another. Wow. Well, fantastic. Folks, thanks a lot for watching this episode. I hope you're as excited as I am to have more RimWorld content in the future. I've been way into RimWorld lately, playing so many varieties. I mean, we've got like 4 different Let's Plays we've just like rammed through between Twitch and YouTube, and they're still going on. I'm just having tons of fun and very much looking to this. I'll see you next time, folks. Bye-bye.